Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of LostinTranslationmon. This time we'll be covering episode 28 of Digimon Ghost Game, Face Taker. I'm May, and Quinn and Chloe are actually recording separately from me this week again, as I was busy during the day, and also I'm going out later on tonight, so I thought it'd be easier so I'm not in a rush, and so Quinn and Chloe don't have to stay up too late, that we record separately again. It was kind of like a last minute thing that I pulled out, but Quinn and Chloe were able to record their thoughts in the usual segment that we'll have for Quinn and Chloe quick comments once I'm done with with my parts. So it'll be intro, Quinn and Chloe quick comments, then discussion and pondering and stuff, and then the outro. So more or less the same as what we usually do for the separate recordings, but I just thought I'd let y'all know. So just a super quick synopsis before I get into it. So people are getting attacked and getting their faces stolen, and it's because of a Surumon who just wants to feel emotions, which is a straight up mood. Then when he steals Hiro's face, Angoromon asks him to return the faces, and he does so because Hiro can't say no. And then that's it. That's basically the episode. And Surumon gets invited to Angoromon's Digimon catch-up, so that's cool. And now we'll hear from Quinn and Chloe in Quinn Chloe quick comments.
Hello, I'm Quinn.
Hi, I'm Chloe.
And this week we're doing episode 28. I don't have the
Face
title in front of me.
Taker.
There we go. Heartbreaker, Face Taker.
Yeah.
Anywho,
We'll do a synopsis. And then,
yes.
Now that we've discussed the episode, let's discuss the discussion. Is that the line?
I believe that's the line.
Okay.
That I guess the listeners have probably already heard.
Well, I said it again for good measure. Maybe if
Exactly.
Air's feeling ambitious, he could overlay our voices, and he can try to time it when he's recording on his end to overlap with mine. That'd be cool. I doubt it'll happen. Anyway, highlights. What do you got?
Kiyoshiro's drawn-on eyes were just the best thing.
Oh my god, they were. They were so good.
Thank you, Jellymon.
It was very cute.
Thank you. The face-stealing motive was kind of cool. I sort of appreciate it was a little, ham-fisted, but I can only experience 3 emotions for some reason, so I need to steal faces, and apparently every human is exactly 1 additional emotion.
I kind of got the impression that it was the emotion that they were feeling at the moment they got their face stolen.
Yeah, I know, I'm just grumbling about it,
Yeah.
especially because I don't think the emotion Hiro had at the time his face got stolen was nice to everyone.
Well, it's just highly pushover-ish at the moment, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I guess it's unclear whether or not it's what they're feeling in the moment or just kind of them at large. Or them at some arbitrary moment, because otherwise it'd be pretty hard to trap the, feeling of great success from, getting your first dunk or whatever. Especially when they start screaming once you start stealing their face. Anyway.
The emotion thing was definitely better than just so I can materialize or whatever that we kind of get a lot. So thank you for that.
Yeah. I'm glad that we still send some hell, Hero's annoying friend, keeping it clean, Kataro's way in the intros. Even if it's not as often as I'd like, I'm always a fan of seeing him having a rough time.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I appreciated that he got put into a coma and basically didn't get to have lines.
Yeah. Well, and he kind of had the exact same thing happen to him this week that happened in episode 1. He got Digimon and then started, aging and or, looking sickly and dehydrated, if nothing else. So
That guy X getting caught up in Digimon traps.
a little bit. But I was always a fan of seeing it. I was actually a little surprised to find myself, legitimately getting some shivers when Hiro touched his blank face, though. That was unexpectedly well done. I was like, ugh.
That was kind of a high point. Just the no face in general stuff was, kind of neat.
Yeah.
It's not exactly the most original idea, but hey, It works for a reason.
Yep.
For all that I wish that it hadn't been, Hero's doormat syndrome that saved the day, it was kind of nice to use the villain's own, motive against them.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was alright.
Yeah, and also saved the day by poking fun at Hero's pushoverishness.
He's just such a herb.
Yeah, it was very good. I initially wrote this down as a highlight, but I'm not as sure about it anymore because I kind of thought that we would learn literally anything else about it. I thought that the, super evolution breaking was kind of interesting, except then we did not figure out any root cause for it at all. It just was a thing that happened.
I have that in my
reasons.
lowlights.
Yeah. I just had it in my highlights, but mostly because I was like, okay, yeah, so we're going to learn more about this, and that'll be fun. So I guess I was got a little ahead of myself putting that down as a highlight.
I guess my last highlight is, Angormon kind of got to matter for the first time in a while, and, that was nice.
Did he?
Not, like, a lot, but, was kind of involved in the episode, and, stood up to the bad guy for a minute after Hiro got his face stolen, and was technically the one who finally thought of saying, hey, please stop stealing faces.
Oh, yeah, okay, that's fair. Yeah, that's
so,
true.
For all that it wasn't a lot, Angormon got to almost matter.
Yeah. He mattered there. It's there could have been
It's a lot less than I was hoping for.
Yeah. Because I guess even though it was technically Angormon who saved the day, it was also Hiro who saved the day.
It was Hiro being super special. Yeah. But I'm waiting for lowlights.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, well, I'll go ahead and knock out my last two highlights real quick then. One of my other highlights was that, just for whatever reason, this week's Insane Digimon resonated a lot better for me than last week's. Because when I think about it objectively, I kind of, I'll acknowledge that their motivations weren't all that different, but for whatever reason, Asuramon's approach on it was a lot better, I thought. I could get down with he was just, 100% unafraid to just walk up to whatever humans were nearby and steal their dang old faces.
I really wanted him to get into the stadium, if we're being real about things.
Yeah, me too. It would have been very interesting to see what would happen, but obviously he couldn't ever get on camera because then they would have to, do something about why people don't know about Digimon yet.
Yeah, I've kind of got that in a misc thoughts, but we'll get to that in a bit. Oh, are we good to move on to lowlights?
My last thing was that after having given it some thought, I do think that this episode, the way that we resolved it, it was a pretty funny way to kind of, but also not do it was all just a misunderstanding ending.
Yeah.
And if we had to have another one of those sorts of endings, I'm glad it was that this is how it went, It could have been a lot worse, I guess, which feels like a weird thing to have as a highlight now in retrospect, but, whatever. You ready to move on to lowlights?
I am.
Go for it.
So we've kind of touched on, but Hiro saving the day by being the world's biggest pushover, you kind of had it as a highlight.
I thought it was funny.
I feel better about it than I did when I first watched it, because you're right, it is kind of making fun of themselves. Mm-hmm. At the same time, we sure didn't let anyone else actually matter all that much. I would really have appreciated if, it could have just been Kiyoshiro who maybe made him realize the terror of having your face stolen.
Yeah.
There could have been some versions of this that weren't just, oh yeah, Hiro's just such a pushover, he can override Ashuramon's own free will.
He's the hero protagonist.
He's the hero we need instead of the hero we deserve.
Is the shonen that we deserve, yeah. Because it was a pretty shonen episode, which is not inherently a bad thing, but there were certainly some moments that had me rolling my eyes.
I definitely did wish that they would have clarified at least a little bit is it the emotion you were feeling when your face was stolen, and if so, why isn't absolute terror, a lot of
Everyone's,
them?
Yeah.
And not just because then you'd have to project a field. Let's see, I guess my next one is that it was an interesting idea with just a very tidy and kind of middling execution, with the resolution just coming very fast, and because we said please stop, which no one had thought of.
Well, specifically when it had Hiro's face on because of the power of pushoverishness.
None of the other people that were absorbed were altruistic.
Yeah. Not enough in the moment, at least, or whatever. Or they don't have the specific character trait of can't say no to a request.
We didn't have the power of protagonism.
Yeah, exactly. They are not the shonen.
Even the two other major characters.
Yeah, mine were basically the same things, by and large. It was what it was. But as far as other just sort of more side note lowlights, Kiyashiro, when getting charged, was like, a hologram ghost? And I'm like, come on. You're saying that like you don't know that that's a Digimon coming at you? Like, of course it is.
Yeah.
Who do you think you're fooling here? It just felt like kind of a cop-out to have the resolution be the hero, the good guys just get trounced, and that somehow turns around to become the everything is fine. The villain was basically self-defeating,
Yeah, which isn't the worst thing to do once in a while.
Yeah,
but
and
I
if this
also
happened,
wish that if we were
if this happened more often,
gonna,
it'd be worse. But
I do wish that it had maybe been done a little bit better, and that I had at least been briefly convinced that there would, maybe be some stakes to this episode.
They're gonna have to do a lot of work to convince me of that.
I mean, yes, but
given their track record so far, yeah. Yeah. I think kind of justifiably a little robbed that we didn't get Gulu's appearance. Hiro getting his face stolen, I was like, oh, okay, that's Gulu's hands down.
Hiro
We're finally going to figure out what's up with
the
next
the
time
evolution crashed.
Yeah, and I wish we had done more with the evolution crashing or breaking or whatever the heck happened.
That would have been neat.
Yeah, it would have nice to have had any idea why that happened.
We'll talk about it later.
Hopefully.
And I'm not against them kind of having a time limit on it or whatever, but... I
mean, if that's what it is, sure, but it didn't seem like it was a time limit that ran out. It looked like something just, changed, and
I am not against there being
some
limits, but I sure would have liked to know anything about why it happened.
Their sync rate hit the single digits or something.
They went to the great beyond depth.
Evangelion.
Why tell me that most Ashuramon care about justice when the only reason you brought it up was that this one just does not care at all about that?
I actually missed that. That's pretty dumb. Yeah.
And then follow up that was really more for air, and I guess the listeners, has that ever been true in any appearance of Ashuramon in the series? Mostly I'm thinking of the time in Frontier when he tried to lure a child into a trap for a very long time.
Oh no.
He wanted to burn him to death in a volcano.
Well,
like you do. And also convince him all his friends hated him.
Must have deserved it, apparently. Because I have it on good authority that Ashuramon are big fans of justice. One other low light that I had was that, like, we had... was it Mushmon? Was that the name of the mushroom-shaped Digimon? Mushmon, I don't understand why Mushmon is with the bad guys to begin with. Like, I do get that, it was being strong-armed into it, didn't really want to be there, but, like, what did Mushmon bring to the table for their group? Like,
there's also that.
I just don't understand why the bad guys, like, kept him around or put up with him. Because, like, the only vibe I really got was that he would say, like, oh, you want to go steal a face from this location? Well, I'll show you where that is. But then later we made it pretty clear that Ashuramon can just go up to anyone, anywhere, and steal their face, if he feels like it.
Yeah, I guess maybe Mushmon was scouting particular emotions, I guess.
Maybe, okay.
But you really gotta want it.
Yeah, like...
And now I feel like I'm making up explanations.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, that would make sense. I wish they had given any indication that was the case, but... can't get everything you want, I guess.
Just don't think about it.
Yeah.
So I guess my big one for the episode is they made kind of a point of saying that this had not reached the real news or even the conspiracy websites, but like literally how dozens of people had their eyes and nose taken, like someone wanted their human horns, after which they fell into comas and drastically aged.
Yeah.
And apparently none of their friends or family, like, thought to tweet about it or call 119 or something.
Is that 911 in Japan?
Yeah, that's what you need for an ambulance.
I see. Yep. Yeah, I'm looking forward to not addressing next week how it is that, it looked like we had a good 100+ people whose faces had been taken. I'm very looking forward to continuing to not even think about why it is that people don't know about Digimon.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that about covered my lowlights.
Yeah, I'm good to move on. Oh, actually, one last lowlight. This cold, it sucks. It's the first one I've had since COVID, and my body has no idea what to do with a germ, and screw this cold.
Sorry you're having a rough time, babe. Okay, so favorite characters. Hey, Quinn, who was your favorite character in Digimon Ghost Game episode 28 Face Taker?
So I was trying to find, like, you know, a random concept to do, but I couldn't even find one. However, I will give it to Jellymon for the eye painting. It was pretty great.
Okay, yeah, I get that. I might actually be surprised when you hear then by having a legit actual favorite character, which I think was just, you know, Ashuramon in this case. I liked that he was just out here to steal people's faces and didn't feel the slightest bit apologetic about it. He was like, I'm here to steal all the human emotions and you can't stop me. And we didn't until he became extremely meek. Yeah.
Yep. And then just kind of went, oh, okay, I guess I lost.
Yeah. Maybe actually that would be another low light of mine, was just like, you know, okay, so if Ashuramon can only experience 3 emotions and it just got, you know, drunk off of the experience of having, you know, several dozen to, you know, upwards of several hundred, if it could retain those emotions, then why did it need to steal the faces in the first place? And if it can't keep the emotions, then why does it act any differently now that it's like lost? Why would it not just go back to be like, okay, well, I guess I just need to start my collection over again? Things. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, it doesn't hang together well if you think about it much, and I guess it's fine.
Yeah.
Let's see, is it
rating and ranking is next, and that means that I need to pull up the thing, because I never remember to do this beforehand and always have to do it live. Okay.
Hopefully Air edits some of this.
Look, if you know your rating and ranking, feel free to toss them out there.
So my rating is a 3.5. There are definitely a lot of gripes I had about it, but I was, you know, entertained watching it.
Yeah. Let's see.
I'll work on my ranking. I'm not 100% sure on that one yet.
I need to find some, because I think I'm kind of torn between 3.5 and 4, so I'm trying to find episode names to do a little quick mental comparison with. So it's 7 and 8. Okay, those are both 3.5s. This is very riveting listening, I know. I'm sorry.
This is what people pay the Patreon dollars for.
It's true.
This riveting ba-ba-da-ba-ba.
Hey, look. Alright. What was last episode? 27? I think I did like this better than last episode. Okay, so you know what? I think I'm going to give this a 4.
Okay.
And now the question becomes, is it going to be where in the 4s here? What other 4s do I have? Episode 9? Warp
so
Time. I don't think I liked it that much. Okay, so I think... Go ahead.
I'm putting mine in 17th place.
Okay.
Between Chain Letter and Nightly Procession of Monsters.
Okay. And I think I'm putting mine in... What would that be? 15th place. I'm giving it 4 out of 5. And I'm putting it in 15th place after episode 9 Warped Time and before last week's episode 27 Monsters Beauty Serum. So it's like at the bottom of my 4s.
That's fair.
Yeah, let's see what's next.
Miscellaneous thoughts.
Okay, so is there anything significant about the dorm leader access code? It's I think 44280.
I thought it was 422, but either way, no. I sat and kind of thought about it for a minute, and
yeah,
I couldn't think of much.
I went through frame by frame to get all the numbers, but the first 2 digits just kind of appear at more or less the same time. I kind of got the impression it was 44, but it could have been 422.
That was, I kind of had the same issue where they sure also, they lit up the numbers, or the lights rather, but only 4 lights ever lit up, so poor animators. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Anyway, we kind of touched on this earlier, but the Super Evolution just kind of ended, and it didn't really matter? I don't know how I feel about that.
It mattered, I think, to the extent of the kind of vague and nebulous way the face stealing thing worked, because I think it was because of that, you know, we got more like to a lower powered Digimon, and Hero felt the need to like step in front and be in big protect mode, which is then kind of what caused Ashuramon to calm down or whatever. So, like, I think it was just plot convenience, really, at the root of it. But whatever, yeah.
I have another kind of longer one, but you can go ahead if you've got some.
My only other one I already kind of touched on in my lowlights, which is just I'm looking forward to never addressing why nobody remembers the face stealing incident that appeared to affect a good, 100 or so people next week.
And very nearly affected a large baseball stadium, including some combat just outside it.
Yeah. Or how, like an entire basketball court got absolutely demolished.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Just kind of people take care of it. No big deal.
So that kind of brings me into mine, which is that there were like 4 other endings that they teased that I thought were gonna, maybe be where we went with this, all of which I think would have been better.
Hit me with them.
So, Ashuramon gets into the stadium and just starts feeling thousands of faces on live television, and suddenly we have to deal with plot.
Mm-hmm.
Kiyoshiro's face gets stolen, and Jellymon evolves from Ruri, and we, let all of the old-time fans just go absolutely nuts from that.
Mm-hmm.
Would have been a little lazy to do the Dark Evolution, but you're right, it did seem like it was kind of called for after the Super Evolution just kind of ending.
Yeah.
And it would have felt a little better to me than just nobody asked nicely to stop stealing faces.
Mm-hmm.
And then my last one would have been Angoramon does literally something beyond just kind of hang around and not be very good at things. Didn't even get to, try to fight it as Simbata Angoramon or anything.
Yep.
Also, Ashuramon just doesn't even want his face. Doesn't like his face.
Yep.
It's a little hurtful.
Well, he doesn't have visible eyes as Angoramon, so it's impossible to steal that face.
Steal Jellymon's face.
Yeah, see, that would have been spooky.
Just the visor thing?
I would have loved to. Oh my god, can you imagine Ashuramon with anime girl eyes?
So good.
That would be incredible. And now I'm sad that didn't happen.
So yeah, it was an interesting episode idea that I think had multiple points that we could have, changed and been significantly better.
Yeah, but I suppose also all of them, not to be a broken record or anything, would run into the issue of it's not going to fit into the time slot in that if we try to,
I don't know. I feel like if
plot.
We had just had not Angoramon steal faces, if Ashuramon had, started stealing faces on television and we'd just gone to a to be continued, that would have been pretty sick.
Yeah.
Even just finish up the fight and just leave that aspect of it completely undealt with, and next week we get to talk about that.
I would actually, I've been kind of hoping for at some point maybe getting like a 2-part episode where something plot significant enough happens that we have to address it next episode. The closest we got really was like, skirting talking about death with Gamamon after the first Ghoulish Gamamon appearance.
Yep.
That's like the closest we've
upstate.
had to, things in the past having a plot impact,
Yeah, we sure haven't thought about the time your friend got murdered in front of you in a while.
Which one? Oh, Pokemon, right. Yeah, duh.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
I'm sure we'll flash back to it later in the show after continuing to not talk about it for a long time, but...
Just repress your feelings, Gamamon. It's the best way to deal with them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there are certainly a lot of things that... There are a lot of alternate timelines where this episode was a lot better, I think. But here we are. It was fine.
Yeah.
Any other miscellaneous thoughts?
Nah.
All right. What about the next time on?
Spiders. We might be bringing back Arukenimon. That would be interesting.
So I thought the exact same thing until I remembered that Ghoulish Gamamon killed the heck out of her, right?
I think you might be right, but...
Is that how that works? I am not clear in Ghost Game.
It depends a lot on the series, but looking at it again, it sure looks like that is not going to be the big bad, so...
Yeah.
Instead, we're just doing Dokugumon, which are just forever the thugs of various villains, but I don't think they even get to talk.
Are those the spider-looking jabronis?
Yeah.
Okay. I should actually just kind of bring up the ending again real quick here to remember what the heck happened. Hold up. Something was on Kiyoshiro's arm. One of his arms was green. Was that the unbandaged arm? No. Well, it is the unbandaged arm. But rather, I was hoping that we were getting a peek at what's under the wrap.
That does remind me that we briefly did the integer overflow thing that, was interesting once.
He said the line.
He said the line.
Yeah.
But nothing sure came of it.
But
again.
yeah, nothing happened, and I thought the whole point of that was when he wrapped around from being so scared that he's brave or whatever, and that sure wasn't what he was doing.
Yep. Oh, and I feel like he was getting to that point, but then
maybe
hero had to hero.
Yeah. At one point, also, Ruli is just kind of hovering in the air next to Angoramon, or at least that's what the camera angle makes it look like. They might be on top of a tall building or something, but so I'm kind of wondering what's up with that. Can we just make people fly now out of nowhere? I guess we'll see what's up.
Yeah, it will probably be interesting. Although it should be noted that I think pretty much every season has occasionally just decided that sometimes landbound Digimon can fly because the plot finds it convenient.
Yeah, that's fair. Next episode is called Monster Pollen. And
okay, so
the vibe I kind of get from that is that the episode will basically be, what if allergies was ghosts?
Okay, so kind of just the American Northeast this week. I'm being topical.
Are you? I'm so not plugged in that I have no idea what you're referencing.
Oh, Boston is apparently, the sky is green from all of the pine pollen.
Oh, wow. That's pretty wild. Weird.
So, yeah.
Didn't know that.
Dating this episode very specifically.
Yeah. Well, cool.
Anywho.
That was all I had for observations on the next time on. Did you have any others?
Yeah. Nah.
Okay. And so, last but not least, do you have any additional thoughts on the series thus far?
Please give me more plot. We're well over halfway through.
Are we? How many episodes is it getting? Do we have any idea?
They've never said, but basically every series has had between 50 and 60.
Okay.
Usually closer to 52.
Yeah, if that is the case, then we're getting a little bit past the halfway point, yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, that would be nice. It would be nice to get some more plot before the end of the show.
Hero's dad sure is dead.
Yeah. What's he eating in the digital world?
I'm just saying, we can't prove that these weren't all pre-recorded videos and that, that's the real Ghost game, is he's playing a game set out by his dad before he died.
Mm-hmm. He's playing the Ghosts game, yeah.
Exactly.
It's certainly
it's like
possible.
Saw, but,
Is it?
not as stupid.
I mean, I'll take your word for it. I've never seen a Saw movie, thank God.
It's probably very much not like the Saw movies, which I have also not seen.
It's fair. Oh, wow, that is a very green sky. I just saw the thing you said.
And on that note, night, everybody.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.
And now that we've heard from Quinn and Chloe, it's back to me on my lonesome. So, first of all, for highlights, I liked the evolution breaking, but I'm honestly hoping that it gets addressed as to why this happened. I am forever the optimist, you know me. And while Quinn and Chloe had that as a low light or as a negative for this episode, I'm keeping it as a highlight because, as I mentioned, I'm forever the optimist. And I'm just hoping that it will be explained. I have a lot of faith in Ghost Game that they wouldn't just do something for plot convenience and not just have it in some way have a reasoning behind it. It's like we have the Black Gargomon and Black Agumon who are just hanging out, showing up. I'm sure they'll be relevant again. I'm sure this moment of evolution breaking will actually have a reason for it. So I'm not saying it's a low light at all. I'm only mentioning it here because it was just kind of a moment. It's not like a big highlight. I just wanted to mention that as I guess more of a miscellaneous thought in a way. But I did like the fact that it gave a reason for why they couldn't just have Canon Weissmon beat Asuramon. There had to be a de-evolution, a reverting because of it. I also like the fact that Angoramon has a personality in this episode. It was an Angoramon episode again. The episodes seem to be focusing around the Digimon, not just the humans, which is something I would only expect from Digimon, which is unfortunate. It's called Digimon, but the stories are never really revolving around Digimon as much as they are the human partners. So I'm a big fan of that. I like how Angoramon has his little gatherings with Digimon and how Asuramon was invited, and he keeps on inviting Digimon that he meets on the Mon of the Week to these gatherings. Like, he's like, hey, do you want to hang out with some Digimon? I do like that. It also makes the Mons of the Week feel like they're more permanent cast members than just, the Mon of the Week who disappears at the end. And this episode having a sort of like they talked him down about it, they convinced him, they changed his mind, it was a misunderstanding, etc., etc. At least this episode did have that, but it almost had a reason for Asuramon just giving up the faces, and it was because Hiro can't say no and he's a pushover. And I liked that. That started off as a lowlight when it first happened, because it felt like when we had Phalesmon, who just released the humans he had captive in stone, that felt really super weird, that he just gave them up. And I was worried that Asuramon was just giving them up for no reason. But then when they actually said, oh, it's because of Hiro's face, and I felt kind of dumb that I didn't just make that assumption initially, I was a big fan of it. I was like, okay, it was a quick resolution that Ghost Game always has, but I didn't mind the reasoning behind it. So that was fine. In terms of lowlights, I'm hoping that the evolution breaking gets addressed at some point. I'm expecting it to as well. But if that honestly does not get referred to or addressed or explained or anything, that part would be a negative. In the same way that I was always expecting in Colon for Koshiro to explain that he's adopted, because we had a lot of hints towards it, it never actually got addressed. So it's always possible that they can do something and then just never address it. Same with the shadowy figure in Atmon even, which is my favourite season of Digimon, and it still has a moment that I would expect to be explained. And there was a shadowy figure who evolved a bad Digimon, or bad Atmon rather, and that was never really explained. The creator said it was meant to be a character, but they ran out of time for it, but still, they never explained it. So it is possible that they just don't address it, but I'm honestly hoping that they do, because it's a highlight, and that is the only lowlight if it doesn't get addressed, so they better address it. Next up for favourite character, I was torn between Jellymon and Kiyoshiro, but because Jellymon was already chosen by Chloe, I think, was it Chloe or was it Quinn? Because I wrote down it was Chloe, but I'm fairly certain it was actually Quinn. I think I got them mixed up. I'll have to re-listen to that. But anyway, so somebody picked Jellymon, but so I'm picking Kiyoshiro. So it's sort of like we all give unique ratings this time. But yeah, I'm definitely going to have to re-listen to that. And I'm sure that whoever is listening right now is saying, this person said it. This person said it. I'm sorry that you're doing that. I'll listen and I'll fix it in my notes so these pie charts are accurate, because pie charts are important. In any case, rating, I gave it a 3 out of 5, surprisingly lower than Quinn and Chloe's ratings. I liked the episode, but my highlights were kind of just, there's a few of them, and I don't have many/any lowlights, but all my highlights are just kind of things that things I noticed about them. They're not really necessarily highlights, they're just things that happened. They may even qualify more for miscellaneous thoughts than for actual highlights. So this episode was very middle of the ground, but not a bad thing. It's an episode that I watch, and if I wasn't reviewing Digimon week by week, this would just be an episode. I would have no feelings about it. I would come out of it saying, hey, I just watched an episode. I wouldn't have any negative feelings about it. I wouldn't have any positive feelings about it. Sometimes, like each week, like I'm sometimes not always struggling for things to talk about. I've got like notes and lots of thoughts, or at least like, some skeleton of thoughts. But for this episode and for some other episodes of Ghost Game, I don't really have that much to talk about. It's just kind of an episode that happened, and it had things that I liked, but it didn't really have many that I didn't. But the things that I liked weren't big enough to really bash on about, rather. But I enjoyed this episode, but it was just okay. It was middle of the ground. So, and I give a 3 to the middle of the ground episodes, because a 2.5 is just passable. It happened. 3 is like, I enjoyed it, but I don't have much to say about it. And in terms of my predictions for the next episode, I was worried that it'd be another spider episode, but it looks like we have Teropiamon again. So that's episode 29, Monster Pollen. So I guess Teropiamon is the mon of the week because flower-based, and I guess there's bugs that are impacted by that. I'm glad that we get to see Kadukuamon animated, because that's a fairly newish Digimon. They gave like a child form of Dokugamon, which is the scary spider adult form. So that's kind of cool. I'm glad that we get a newish Digimon animated. It's probably one of my favorites, despite being a spider. Koduku. I cannot talk this week. I'm very frazzled. I'm sorry. Kodukugamon. See, I don't know why. Putting the ko in the front just makes it really hard to say. Anyway, I really like that Digimon, despite it being a spider, because I'm arachnophobic. But I'm hoping that we get, like, I don't know, I hope we get some good shots of this Digimon, because it's a fairly new one. And same with Teropiamon, that's also another new Digimon, but this Digimon we also already saw in Adventure Colon, so I'm not as excited to see Teropiamon as Kadukuamon. I just gave up on half the syllables there. Anyway, so that looks good. Let's move on to Postmon Pat. I'll get up the comments. So first we have M, who says when they first froze Splashmon, they thought that Gamamon was chewing on ice thing would come back in the form of Betel Gamamon taking a bite out of him or something. So yeah, that's fair. And next they say that the episodes are 3 out of 5 for them. And yep, that's a fair rating for the last episode. Next we have Narumi, who says the episode is strange and has some funny moments. Their main problem is that the main human characters felt off, especially Ruri. Even the Mon of the Week had more personality than all the human characters of the episode. The perfect form of Gamamon didn't appear to make the fight last 1 minute, and Splashmon wasn't evaporated again, like in Cross Wars and Adventure Colon. They froze him. And they hope that the letter that hero gave to Blacktailmon Uva has some plot relevance. I'm really expecting it to. I'd be surprised if not. So they give the episode a 3.5 out of 5. Next Next we have KG. Sorry, I'm very bad with words today, which makes for very terrible podcasting. Next we have KG, who says that they're glad it wasn't just them who was reminded of the Cardcaptor Sakura Watery Card episode. You just know that Splashmon would have been battle costume inspiration for Tomoyo. Yeah, that'd been interesting. I haven't watched Cardcaptor Sakura for a long time, but every time Quinn brings it up, I'm just like, I remember that show. Anyway, they then say, side note, yeah, Jellymon definitely has a body count. She's just professional and knows how to hide the bodies. Yeah, that's the impression that I got. Like, everyone else kind of has, like, the body count, but Jellymon has a significantly higher one, but she is just better at getting rid of evidence, basically, and doesn't do it for the camera. Next, we have Danny, who says that they enjoy how stupidly vain and narcissistic the Splashmon is. Someone going through all of that trouble just to look beautiful is an insane narcissist. Yeah, but also it's a mood. Anyway, they then say they enjoyed seeing Blacktailmon Uva, as we haven't seen them in a while. And yeah, they're kind of like spoon-feeding us this plot, or this Blacktailmon Uva showing up to give us like 5 seconds of plot every few episodes. I'm really like starving for more, but yeah, I really hope we get more. Next we have Lazy Croconaw, who says they didn't enjoy this episode a lot, and it probably lined with our scores, but their main takeaway was Gamon eating the ice because cute, which, yeah, that's fair. And they said that they did make the list like us, and they said they were able to name 134 in an hour, and they know a couple more after they were done, because they're like, oh, I forgot this one's name, and they forgot Leomon, Vegemon, etc., but not much to think about. The rarest ones were the dot versions, and some from the Digimon world for Nintendo DS games. Don't know if they appear someone else. Also, funny thing with Pixelmon, they named it as Piximon because they swear they remembered it being called that in the Latin American dub of Adventure, which is the one they grew up with. And then Picorumon because they think that's its actual name, to be sure that they put Pickle Rick. So yeah, that's funny. We also did have M say that they did the Digimon naming thing, but their comment got deleted by YouTube because YouTube doesn't like if you include a link, especially if it's an external link, and it just deletes it. But the weird thing is that I get a bunch of spam links held by YouTube in the comments section all the time, and they get held for review. but I know for a fact that whenever anyone else who's not a spam bot puts in a link, YouTube just deletes it straight up. So I don't know why the spam bots at least get through enough to sit in my held for review filter. But in any case, next we've got Eduardo, who says that Splashmon in this episode was definitely one of the most selfish and sadistic foes yet, and it had things in control to a scary degree. And yeah, I agree. There's always that line between just a straight up monster and then a monster, but they are sentient and they have emotions and their motivations, even though the motivations are silly, like Splashmon just wanted to look good. That's much scarier than, like, just a generic monster, which, for memory, Splashmon was in Adventure Colon. Eduardo says that they liked Hero in this episode, and he shined here, and they finally got it to start searching urban legends after Cannibal Mansion incident with Digitalmon. And yeah, I do like that. And even in episode 28, we still have them mentioning that they're researching these urban legends online. I'm a fan of that. Next we have Hime, who, I'm sorry, Jaime, I watched the pronunciation video that they linked because they said that I was mispronouncing it, and now I'm just like, am I pronouncing it right now? Hime? I think it was. But it's a nice name. It's a name that I've not heard before, but it is a nice name. So if I ever mispronounce anyone's names, please let me know so I don't continue to mispronounce your names. So Hime provided a pronunciation guide, so that was really good, and I probably still butchered it because, yeah, I've had a very busy weekend, so podcasting and words are not a good idea right now, but I'm doing my best, I think. I hope, at least. Anyway, they say, additionally, regarding the homework that was assigned to us, they did not know all the alt forms and variants don't count, so the true total is 600, but they did it all in one sitting, and it took 2.5 hours. It was a fun idea, and they really enjoyed it. Overall, their general thoughts about the series are mixed. They like the horror and the darker elements, but the lack of plot is getting annoying. Their fear is they will rush the endgame plot in the last handful of episodes, and it becomes lackluster, kind of like Adventures 2020. See, I think that they would have a quick, I wouldn't say rushed, but quick resolution to the ending, and quick, there's plot, there's the ending. I'm thinking more of, how Atmon kind of did that, in a way, even though it did have, hey, look, Leviathan's the big bad. It didn't really do much with that until later on in the show, so I'm kind of expecting Ghost Game to do the same thing, because it's episodic like Atmon was, but I guess we won't know until it's finished. And lastly, we have Andrew, who says it was an okay episode, and we have a Digimon that appears, and we get an urban legend folklore kind of take. And there's not much to think about how else than Gamamon being realistic, cute pet. And we have the Uber Tailmon show up again after 20 episodes, and they're worried about the next episode. They think the next ep will be a Ruri episode, but maybe they're not falling for that. Oh no, it's not a Ruri episode, but at least it's an Angoramon episode, which I'm fine with having the Digimon as the characters. I like how the humans are put at risk, and we have Digimons that have characters. I'm a big fan of that. But anyway, those were all the comments that we have, and I'm pretty sure I've said all my thoughts, and I won't force any more words out. I did also do a 17-minute long video going over this episode, as well as the Vital Hero and Vital Bracelet news, so I don't want to tread over the news too much because I've already covered that on the YouTube channel. So check out the videos on YouTube about the Vital Hero and the Vital Bracelet news that we've had if you haven't already, and of course subscribe if you haven't already as well. And I guess that goes for the comments and thoughts from me. So thanks for listening, everyone. You can join us next time for episode 29, Monster Pollen. Link dump's linked in the description. I'm still fighting with YouTube about the lack of description saving I'm experiencing. Redbubble's also linked in the description. And you can also contact us and stay updated, and you can find all these links in the description as well. You can send us an email to LostinTranslationmon@gmail.com, or you can comment on this episode on our website, which is LostinTranslationmon.com. There's also the episode on YouTube, so like, comment, subscribe, etc., etc. And you can follow us at TranslationMon on Twitter. And of course, you can find us on Lost in Translation on Tumblr, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. I'm at Digimon_Hero on TikTok, and I stream on twitch.tv/translationmon. I will be streaming Digimon Survive when it comes out at least once, at least on release day, so follow just so you're prepared for that. And of course, you can chat with us on the LostinTranslationmon Discord server, and you can talk with us about each episode as it comes out in the Ghost Game channel. You can also leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, any podcast catcher that you use that accepts reviews, and if I find them, I'll read them out on the show. If I don't, give me a heads up in some form and I'll go find it. You can also donate to our Patreon, which is linked in the description, from as little as $1 a month, and that gets you access to the Patreon-only areas of our Discord server, but there are higher levels, more rewards, as unedited and early episodes, and more. And thank you to our current supporters on Patreon, Stephen Reeves, who is Wild64 on Archive Our Own, and I've just for some reason minimized that window. That's not cool or fun. Kaidawashi, Chisai, who you can follow on Twitter at Chisai236, Neobu, who says you should follow Chisai on Twitter at Chisai236, Lizmet, who is Lekmon on Tumblr, Nicholas, Sam, Emery from Gone While Hunting, a Hunter Hunter Rewatch podcast, Magnus, Lucas, JasonMon05, Patrick, Jason, Grey Tanuki, Shelby, Digital Hazard, who is on Twitch at The Digital Hazard, Dedicated Ghazi, Alemist, Michael, and Tropiamon, who is, I'm guessing, very excited for the next episode because of Tropiamon. You can also make a one-off donation on PayPal, which can be found linked in the description. It's paypal.me/Airdramon. You can also donate to me on my Ko-fi account, ko-fi.com/Airdra. So those were my thoughts on episode 28. Thanks to Quinn and Chloe for sending me through their thoughts, because I'm really glad that I didn't end up forcing us to all do the recording at the same time, because I do not have the time. I'm looking at the time right now, I'm like, oh wow, I'm glad I didn't make them stay up late, and I'm also glad I didn't rush home to get the podcast out. So, and also, I was able to do that video, and now I'm kind of regretting doing that video, because it made me unable to produce enough words for this podcast. So check that out if you want me being a little bit more eloquent and talking about Digimon. In any case, thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye!